Welcome back to Love, Life, and Legacy, everybody. The podcast dedicated to helping you navigate these hypersexualized times of ours. You see, when you do something too often, sometimes you just go a little bit crazy doing it again and again. Let me try that as normal as possible. Hey, everybody, welcome back to Love, Life, and Legacy, the podcast dedicated to helping you navigate these hypersexualized times of ours. Great. So today is about energy, everybody, and I'm filled with it. I want to this is a very important episode. Don't skip it. I have slides for you if you want. If you're a visual learner, you can check out the podcast on YouTube, or you could just listen, whatever. But it's a deep dive into how to invest your energy wisely. This is one of the most fundamental and important things that you can ever learn and practice in your life. There are a lot of theories about addiction. There's a lot of theories about how to lead a meaningful life. And in High Noon, we have a lot of ways for you to harness your sexual energy and to live together with God in terms of your sexuality, but in general. But it all requires energy at the end of the day. So this is kind of like the base of all that you can do in your life, and in terms of building sexuality, your sexual integrity, and like just enjoying life requires you to know how to harness your energy and use it towards things that you care about. That's what this episode is about. I spared no expenses in terms of my own energy to make sure that this is a great episode. So please listen intently, figure out how you can invest your energy so that you can create a life that you never want to escape from, that you never want to run away from, a life that you love, that you can welcome all sorts of people into and take care of. That's the life that we were born to live. So let's figure out how to use our energy wisely. Peace. Welcome back, everybody. I feel like a stranger in my own podcast today because I haven't had this setup in a while. This is like my home studio, and it is so nice to have your own home studio. I was away for the past month in Canada visiting family. It's a cold place. I'm not gonna lie. When you grew up in Canada, shout out to all my Canadians out there. It's so annoying when people are like, "Oh, you're from Canada? I heard it's cold," and you're like, "Ah, Canada isn't all the Northwest Territories." Shout out to anybody who knows what the Northwest Territories are. Probably don't if you're American. Americans, I've done this, I've seen documentaries about this, don't know Canadian geography. It's amazing. They just know all the states. They're taught all the states, and then they're taught that there's some pink thing on the globe or the map above them that's called Canada. They don't know about provinces. They don't know about territories. Anyway, so, it's frustrating growing up in Canada because anybody outside of it is like, it's got to be so cold. And I was from Toronto proper, city boy. And it's like, it's the same as New York. In fact, if you just go south of the border to New York State, upstate New York, way colder and snowier. Buffalo, New York. Shout out to strip malls, everybody. Anyway, I am telling you all this because when I went back to Canada after many years, it's flipping cold. It's so cold. And I was like, man, the stereotype is kind of true. And everybody was like, oh, it's never this cold. I was like, it's a coinky dink. Because we were in a condo downtown and we just had to walk 2 blocks to the grocery store. And sometimes we could barely make it, honestly. Sometimes we were doubting our decisions in life because everything hurt. It was so cold. But now I'm back in this home studio and it's super nice to be back. And in the beginning of the year, I really want to go back to some fundamental issues, right? Because in our work with High Noon, like Benji, myself, Sammy, we've been around a long time. We've been doing this a long time. And because of that, we kind of nerd out. We really know our stuff. We care about it. You accumulate knowledge over time. It compounds by all the things that you learn. But the problem with that is sometimes you overshare a little bit too much information sometimes. And not so helpful all the time. Like I could go off, and I realized that a lot of my talks were getting so esoteric because I not only know the fundamentals, but I also have my own theories about addiction, about sexual integrity, about the value of sexuality. But nobody really cares. And it's not so helpful when you're just struggling with porn, when you're just struggling in your marriage, like highfalutin ideas, not so helpful. So I wanted to go back to some fundamentals here, and I wanted to talk about energy because I touched on energy in the last podcast of the year, talking about a little bit about what is energy. Try not to get too sciencey because, hey, I'm not smart, not in that way. So I don't want to pretend like I am. But energy investing your energy is such a crazy concept because it's so basic. It's like it's the most basic almost. It's the most fundamental thing that you could ever learn in life. Is like, how do you want to spend your energy today? Okay. And tomorrow. And if you spend it well and you invest it into things you care about, then your life will start to resemble something that you enjoy, something that feels familiar. And you like if you invest energy into building a home, not just a house, but a home, and you really think about the chairs that you sit in, the food that you eat, all these different pieces, then when you come home, it feels so nice. It feels like home. Hence, what I was talking about, this is my setup. I love this setup. I didn't even know how much I loved it until I just pressed record. And so that's your life. Okay. And so in terms of high noon, the value that we bring, that we're constantly talking about, is how to create a life that you don't want to run away from. Okay. And I just heard this, I don't want to say accusation, but the statement that high noon is too practical. And this really busts my bacon. It really boils my butter. I don't know. I'm just making up things here. It circulates my cylindrical. I don't know what that means either. So it just makes me upset. And here's why, is because if we just talked about spirituality, that doesn't help you function in like at work necessarily. Just pray more at work. You have to learn how to feed yourself. High noon is about like essentially resetting everything and building yourself as your ideal self from the ground up. That's pretty fundamental. And if you think that you can just skip from a life of addiction to a happy, stable life, you're fooling yourself. You have to recreate yourself from the inside out. Hence the North Star goal, which is an identity statement rather than a series of objectives that you want to accomplish. Okay. So yes, we are practical because you have to identify, we are very spiritual too, but you don't hop to spiritual when you're struggling your brains out because you're surrounded by confusion. It's hard to know where the light is. You have to kind of go back to the basics, start building yourself up. And you can be practically spiritual too, by the way, because even is your spirituality optimized for self-pity? Because I know a lot of people who do. They ask God, why is my life like this? And that's not optimized spirituality. Spirituality is supposed to make you a brighter, more powerful, clear person in this world so that you can be a bright light to shine. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. You know what I'm saying? So when you build yourself back up in the likeness of your ideal self, and this is a creation that comes to you through visions, through prayer, conversations with God, conversations with yourself, conversations with your environment, what's working, what's not working, conversations with your life, evaluating, assessing, improving. When you start living like this, you start to enjoy your life more and stop wanting to run away more. So all of this requires energy at the end of the day. And I feel like I'm on fire here. I hope you're with me. I'm looking at the clock and I'm 7 minutes in and I haven't even started my slides. If you are watching this on YouTube, I got some good slides for you. And if you're just listening, that's fine, but I got some nice slides you can reference. But this is going to be, I'm not going to worry about the clock, because if this was a video, I'd be in big trouble. Like if this was just supposed to be like a short video, I've been known to do that, kind of go off a little bit too much. But this is a podcast. So let's process this information together. So I want to talk about your energy funnel, how you funnel your energy. and if you funnel your energy, is the difference between a great day and a terrible day. So, and one great day compounded by several and then months and then years is a life well lived, versus losing your energy and just wasting it. You're never going to be happy, and you're never going to be the person that you want to be. And you'll always then need to substitute real stuff with fake stuff. I saw this great video. Alcohol gives you fake confidence. Drugs give you fake peace. Lust gives you fake attraction. All these fake things. It's so true. That was a good point on the internet there. Good work, internet. So anyway, if you're not embracing the real stuff and working on it, making it enjoyable, meaning relationships, your relationship with yourself, with your environment, with the people in your world, with God, then you'll always feel uncomfortable and you'll always need some tool of escape, be it Netflix, be it porn, be it methamphetamines. Choose your poison. These are all coping mechanisms because you're uncomfortable with your life. So let's figure out how to use our energy well so that we can direct it towards building our ideal life, so that we can be citizens of Chanuguk, so that we can be high noon champions, not the organization, but high noon the era, people who are bright lights in a strange, dark world. So let me just put myself here. Wait. So energy is a currency. Please understand this. And again, if you're watching these slides, follow along here. Energy doesn't just mean like, I don't know, like energy drinks. Think about energy drinks. What do they give you? They make you hyper. They're filled with sugar and all sorts of toxic poison that gives you this feeling of having what's known as energy. But what is energy? If you kind of look deeper, it's your attention, your mental focus. Do you have focus? Because when you're really low energy, it's really hard to focus on anything meaningful. And I know this is when a lot of people slip up in terms of pornography. They're feeling drained energetically because they're, let's say exams. Let's say you have a really hard test coming up and you're investing so much of your energy stressing out about the test, they have no energy left to actually focus on studying for the test. So what do? You go to the internet, you end up watching porn. Does this give you more energy? No, it distracts you from the low energy you have. And then after that, you have even less energy because now your soul has been sucked of its vitality and you're even worse off than before, okay? So another metric for energy is vitality. So your physical strength, like when you're filled with vitality, you're eating the right foods, you're sleeping well, you're doing some really good stuff with your life, you are a powerful being. And that could be physically, like you're more robust, you can climb a mountain. You feel like you can climb a mountain. You can tackle difficult conundrums. You can solve problems. This is a sense of vitality, somebody who's alive, right? And emotions. Think about how connected emotions and energies are. So, for instance, if you have a secret and you know it like a shadow and you want to talk to somebody, it requires a lot of focus and energy to do what you need to do, to talk to your parents or talk to your spouse about your shame. It's exhausting, right? After crying, you're usually exhausted. Or after having a very emotional conversation, it's so taxing on you, right? So when you're filled with energy, you can tackle all of these parts of your life. And when you don't have energy, you avoid these areas of your life. You see this. This is High Noon 101. It's really basic and fundamental, but really, really important stuff. So think about, using your time well and using your energy as a currency. Let's say you have a budget of energy every day. Where do you want to spend that budget of energy? What do you want to focus on? What do you want to do with your days? Okay. So energy is what makes life thrive, or it makes you suffer too, right? So when you're really focusing your energy on work, let's say, be it if you're a student or if you have a job, if you're really focused on that, it's so much more enjoyable, right? It's called being in your flow state. It doesn't matter the job. I saw a bunch of different people, like they measured the flow state in your brain. It's just like you're kind of on autopilot you have to be good at something, not the best in the world, but really good at something. So you don't have to think about doing it so much. Plus, you have to trust yourself enough and focused enough to where you can kind of let go and just be in the moment. And that could be a musician, like just getting lost in a song that you're playing. But it can also be, they studied this guy who was, he made lox bagels in New York City. So, like smoked salmon. He would just cut the salmon all day. And he had a very specific method, but his enjoyment levels were through the roof. Like the amount of dopamine that he was producing just by cutting salmon all day, because he knew exactly what he was doing. He had his technique, and he would just kind of get lost in the work, and time would fly, and he would just be there in the moment. And that's such a joy, but it requires focus. You cannot do that if you're scatterbrained. Presence, to be present in every moment, is the actual, like a lot of Eastern philosophies, that's the linchpin of their, like Buddhism, I don't know, Stoicism. These kind of things are all about actually just cultivating the awareness of being in the present moment. I know that guy, Eckhart Tolle, not a fan. Creepy guy to me. He's a real creep. If there was ever a world level secret, like malevolent mastermind, it's that dude to me. No offense. I don't think you could be more offensive and then say no offense. But he talks he has like the power of now. He has a whole book. I remember people were nerding out about that. It's a book that could have been written in one sentence, but whatever. I'll let it go, Eckhart Tolle. So being in the present moment, it's so valuable. Innovative energy, like the good ideas don't happen when you're checking your texts, when you're stressing out about this, when your mind's all over the place. The good ideas come when you're really focused on an idea and you let it wander and you follow it. It's such a joy to come up with like these revelations. That's when we get struck with these epiphanies that just smack us, and it's like, oh, I figured it out. And whether it's figuring out something that humanity hasn't figured out, or figuring out something that you just didn't understand before, it's still revelatory to you, and it feels so good when you have. It's like going to the next level of your thinking is how you upgrade your brain. It's great. And connection. You cannot have meaningful relationships if you don't have the energy to invest in a relationship. It takes energy to listen to somebody complain, or to listen to somebody tell a story that you kind of know where it's going, right? Or whatever. It takes energy to be with people and to actually care about people. It's an investment of energy, okay? So it's really important to understand your energy and understand what drains you of your energy. Think about this. Think about your days. When do you lose energy? A lot of people lose energy after lunch because they eat the wrong foods. They eat carb-heavy foods, like pasta usually is a great recipe for a siesta, the afternoon nap, because you have no energy. Having something like protein or something light for lunch is and everybody has different things that feed their body. Everybody's body's different. Not here to give you advice on that, but just to understand, where do you lose energy? Where does this energy kind of, where does it get drained? And I will get into that a little bit more. But also, what gives you energy? Because it's not finite. When I talk about a budget for your daily energy, that's kind of true for the average person, because it's like you only have so much energy. But if you know God, if you really have a relationship with a heavenly parent, and you, I don't know, understand about spirituality, and you also understand about yourself and your physicality, you can actually create energy. We're made of energy. All of your cells, all of matter, everything that you see and touch, your chair, anything in your fridge itself, your house, your whatever, your car, these are all made of matter, right? But matter is made out of energy. And all matter, every cell, every molecule is 99.9999999% energy. So everything's just energy. So we are energy. So you can plug into the cosmos and get energy at any time. It doesn't require coffee. There's breathing. There's all sorts of ways to get energy. So understand, how do you get energy? Okay. And I do want to get into that a little bit more. And then, when do you feel alive versus when do you feel numb? Look at yourself, please. If you need to pause this podcast and just think about these questions. This is the difference between being alive and being a zombie. That's what you're being offered here, is you can curate a life where you're fully alive and filled with vitality, or you could be a zombie like most people who are just kind of getting through their days rather than really enjoying life. Okay, so where does your energy go? Let's talk about that first. Digital distractions. So going on your phone usually drains you of your energy. Think about that honestly. Have an honest conversation. When you do a stint on Instagram, it usually makes you jealous, frustrated, angry, agitated. Agitated is a good word because that could mean angry. It could mean just uncomfortable, whatever. It just makes you feel off for most people. Again, not inherently necessarily, but it's part of its design. That's what keeps you scrolling, is feeling weird and needing to kind of get rid of this feeling. So in what way does your digital life drain your energy versus give you energy? Be conscious about that.
Hey, do you love your spouse? Well, if you do, you will love the Radiant program. It is a program dedicated to couples, to blessed couples that want to take your marriage and your intimacy, spiritually, physically, emotionally, intimacy to heavenly heights. If you are struggling in your relationship to any degree, this is the program for you. We're going to help you break through in your intimate relationship with your spouse. So check it out at highnoon.org if you want to join the Radiant program with other blessed couples. I'll see you there.
Overcommitments, right? A lot of people say yes, especially in our High Noon world. We have a lot of idealistic, wonderful people, but good people are also not great to themselves, and they don't know how to say no because they think it's a nice thing to do to say yes to everybody. But in fact, it's draining on you. And you when you oversaturate yourself, when you like spread yourself too thin, you're not helping anybody because you're not giving anybody your full self because you don't have a full self to give. You're drained. If you're better at saying yes and no intentionally, you'll have more energy to give to the things that you can really commit to. And if you overcommit, then you'll never feel good about it. I've lived that life. I remember the first time I was a pastor, I would work 12-hour days easily, sometimes longer, 15 hours. And then I'd come home and all I could think about is all the stuff I didn't do and how I was a failure. And it was because I was running on empty. People who know themselves do more with less and do less and give more. They're very intentional about their energy. They're not frenetic and like running around and just, they're focused and they're giving less because it's something powerful. Okay. Negative self-talk is a son of a gun. Oh my goodness gracious. You waste so much energy every single day hating yourself, and it gives you nothing in return other than self-loathing and shame and all the negative stuff. So we invest, think about that. You have this energy and you're just giving it to a project that only gives you pain and suffering and gives you nothing else in return. Why would you do that? Well, you wouldn't consciously. We do this unconsciously. Lack of rest. Sleep is this is a big one. Most people suck at sleeping. It's something that used to come naturally, but now is something that a lot of people have to work on because we eat at the wrong times. We scroll too much. We don't have the right environment. So we don't know how to sleep well. We have a chapter leader. I'm not going to call them out by name just yet because they didn't allow me to, but I'll just be generic here. But they said that they were sleeping so much in the past prior to working for High Noon. They'd sleep like 12 hours, 13 hours, whatever, wake up and then want another nap. So they're sleeping a lot, like a bear hibernating. But they were always still tired. And now they just recently bought a watch that tracks their sleep. They're realizing that they were sleeping so much low quality sleep. So they were always tired, no matter how much they slept. Now they're sleeping less, but it's high quality because they're very careful about how and when they sleep. And they're so much more recharged and filled with vitality. Again, less is more when it's intentional and filled with the good stuff, when you're using your brain, the one that God gave you, okay? So we have to be mindful about our mind, okay? We have to be, this makes us uniquely human. We don't know of any other creature that has this kind of self-awareness where you can think about thinking, right? And so you have to be careful where you invest your thoughts. This is a form of energy. So when you think about fear and anxiety, when you focused on blaming somebody and it makes you angry or resentful, shout out to all my married people out there. How often do you judge your spouse? And that not only drains your energy, it drains the energy out of your marriage. It siphons life and vitality out of your marriage, right? And only takes, it's not helping. So blaming, judging, resenting doesn't help. Kills your energy, zaps you of hope. Versus something like thinking about hopeful stuff. Where do you want to invest your energy? What problems can you help to solve in this world? Like that gives you energy, right? Versus thinking about the problems, like you go on social media and you're like, might as well just die because the world is so messed up. That is the world. That is the broken world trying to suck your soul. If you're smart and if you're intentional about where you put your mind and your thoughts and your feelings, you can be aware of problems. Doesn't mean being ignorant, but you know enough. Okay, I get it. Yeah, there's some problems in this world. And then you transmute that into what can I do about it? And if you can't do anything about it, you probably shouldn't be thinking about it because what's the point? But influence what you can influence. Don't worry about the rest. That's from 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Anything outside of your circle of influence shouldn't influence you, right? So many people are worried about geopolitics and they are not in politics and they can't influence what happens in Russia or China or Washington or whatever. And that's where they spend the vast majority of their time and energy. There's no return on that investment. It's just zapping you and you're becoming an angry person or anxious person and you're not doing anything to make the situation better. So it's all negative. So just stop that. How about that? Okay. Inner conversations. How often do you replay arguments? So I was the worst at that. Now I can catch it and work on it. Still not batting 100% on that, but I remember very distinct times in my life, especially in high school. If I got into an altercation with somebody, I would replay that in my mind for weeks until I had the perfect diss. I was in the 90s, so a diss, insult or like comeback, like retort, so that I could, next time if it came up, I'd be ready. George Costanza did that in Seinfeld once where with the shrimp, there's an episode where the whole episode he's thinking about a comeback, and then he finally came up with a comeback and the guy had an even better comeback, right? It's such a waste of time. Just letting it go and be like, it takes effort. But that initial effort of like just letting it go and being like, it's not that bad, and like praying it and releasing it, that's like a lot more upfront energy, but then you're free and then you have endless energy to continue your life rather than just replaying the same mistake or the same argument or the same problem again and again, which is just siphons your energy for weeks or months or years. I know people that had bad things happen to them when they were a little kid and they're still griping about it. They never let it go, right? This is how one instance can haunt you for your entire life because you don't know how to let it go. So imaginary catastrophes. This is big in the world. Is like, hey, how is humanity gonna die? Let's play that game. It won't take you long on social media for people to give you many theories. And there's a lot of dates. 2030 is a big one coming up. We're all gonna die. AI is gonna kill us, all this stuff, right? Go have fun with that. What's that gonna do? Even if there's a morsel of truth in that, you won't have anything to contribute if you're worried and fearful about that future. If you're fighting for a better future, great. But that's the transmutation of fear and anxiety to productivity, like hope and optimism and these kind of things. So do not worry about imaginary catastrophes. People have been worried about the nuclear holocaust since the 70s. There's a house in Las Vegas that was built. You should Google that. It's the coolest house, but it was built because everybody was so worried about the Cold War in the 70s that somebody, a millionaire in Las Vegas, built a house underneath his house. and it had a golf course, and it looked like it was outside in the desert. He had cans for years so that he could survive the nuclear holocaust that was imminent in the 70s, but kind of never happened, right? So this spirit exists. Don't engage. Don't worry about it. It's a waste of your energy. Self-judgment. Hey, anybody judge themselves? We all do. It's such a useless waste of energy. It really is. Instead of just talking about it with people that we love and like healing it and moving past it and learning to love ourselves, it's such a trap. Okay, next. Conversations. So we have to be very mindful of the conversations, not only that we are a part of and participating in, right? So not gossiping. Gossip has no value, for us or for anybody. There's no value there. But also the conversations we're privy to. So podcasts are really popular now. And part of it is because we love listening to other people talk. But if they're having counterproductive conversations, negative conversations, then this is seeping into us and it's zapping our energy. And most podcasts are garbage. Hence why we have this perfect podcast, which is a great investment of your time, right? But so whether you're participating or whether you're just observing, conversations really impact your thoughts and your spirit and your emotions, okay? So negative talk, complaining, drama, TMZ is still a thing somehow. We love learning about celebrities, terrible lives. That's a horrible waste of time. Oh, this celebrities, they're getting divorced. Why do we care? Well, of course they are. They're all dysfunctional people. We're all working on it here, okay? So why celebrate the misery of others? Bad investment of your time, okay? So, that doesn't have a picture. Where happened to that picture? Let me be the picture here. Energy vampires, everybody, be careful. This is a real thing. There's people that when you hang out with them, you always walk away drained. And again, I know a lot of good people and they're like, well, but I feel sorry for them. Okay. So by you hanging out with them and having them complain and make you drained, how is that helping anybody? Right? So it doesn't mean necessarily ignoring these energy vampires, but it's being clear, having some sort of framework. I feel like Sammy's particularly good at this. He will end a conversation when he's done. Yesterday he did that to me. We were on a conversation and he could tell that I was just about to ascend into I was getting hot on this topic and I wanted to share about it. And he's like, can we stay focused? I gotta go soon. And I was like, my initial feeling was like, how rude. But then I was like, yeah, that's pretty smart because I was about to rant, as you know, I can. So he was just safeguarding himself from wasting energy on something that he didn't have time for. So safeguard your time and energy from these energy vampires by saying this makes me feel uncomfortable or I have other stuff to do, and you have to protect your time. And it doesn't mean that you're rude. Even if it's perceived as rude, you can do it in a very polite way, but you're guarding yourself by being attacked by other people or by giving your energy away to these people. It doesn't help anybody. Okay. So you have to safeguard your time and energy from people who are sucking it out of you, siphoning it. I was trying not to say that word for obvious reasons, but let's stick with siphoning. Okay. Let's moving on here. Getting out of that awkward situation. Food. Let's talk about food real quick. Again, not a nutritionist, just somebody who really takes care of himself. So observant of what food affects me and how. And I just did a 3-day drive from Toronto to Colorado. It was fun, but when you're driving for that long, you cannot always protect the food. And to be honest, one of the days, I don't want to blame anybody. I can't tell the story without it seeming judgmental. So I'll just go with it. My wife remembered a time in her life she was fundraising. She did that for 10 years. So she's on the road. And in that time, she was introduced to Arby's. She's from Mongolia. Didn't know anything about Arby's. Funny thing about Arby's, most of you who even grew up in America probably don't know about Arby's. It's not a popular restaurant, but she's like, let's go there. So I ate it. And then I paid the price. My stomach was jacked up. I was in pain. So, but I was also thanking my body so much. Thank you for letting me know when I'm off course, because the next day I lost a lot of energy, feeling super sick, right? So what energy are you actually acquiring from this food? I want to give you one theory that is not validated, but I love it. And I haven't ever bothered to figure out if it's true, but I remember hearing this one guy talking about health, and his theory on health is the more that you eat things that are alive, the more that you feel alive. So meaning even fruit juices have all just been converted to sugar, versus a freshly squeezed fruit juice is alive for a certain amount of time, because everything's about energy. So everything's converting the energy of the sun into energy that we can eat. So whether it's an animal that absorbed the sun like directly, but also the sun from the grass, let's say it's a cow, the grass that it was eating. So that's why grass-fed cows are more alive than the cows that just eat wheat, which is dead, right? So like it's the amount of vitality that you're getting is how alive your food is. So things like ultra-processed foods were never alive. So they drain you of, like, I'm talking about potato chips, junk food, that aisle in every grocery store that you look down and it's like, no food here. It's all like Franken food. That stuff, whatever. I'm not here to judge, but it zaps you for sure of energy, just clinically, scientifically. Caffeine is an interesting one because there's a lot of different studies and it's hard to tell. It's honestly hard I've done a deep dive, but it really looks like the meta-analysis of caffeine is that if you drink it in the morning and you have between 1 to 4 cups, it's actually quite beneficial for you. And this isn't one study. This is like years of studies. If you drink coffee throughout the day or caffeine throughout the day, it's actually really negative for you. And if you have the wrong kind, there's moldy, whatever. But caffeine is interesting. And if it places like real energy, then you're dependent on it, and then it's addiction, right? So anyway, choose your caffeine wisely and understand how it impacts you. Okay, I'm almost done here, guys. This is a long one, but sleep is super important. Going to bed too late really impacts you because the deep part of your sleep happens where we have a circadian rhythm. So like when you sleep really impacts you. And I know so many people that have porn issues late at night because they should be sleeping, but they're restless because they don't have a winding down routine. Things like doing a sauna or stretching or having a hot bath or whatever, these things can kind of become your nightly routine that calms you down so that when you go to bed, you actually go to sleep. Don't bring your phone into your bedroom. These kind of things will help you go to sleep earlier and stay asleep. But if you're all over the place and you don't have a routine, then the quality of your sleep dips. You have less energy the next day. You're drinking more caffeine or you're eating more sugar to just get by. And this creates this destructive cycle, zapping you of energy, and your energy's all over the place. Okay, so zoning out and numbing. So this will take so much of your energy, folks. So scrolling, take your energy out. A lot of people go to YouTube because they want to learn something, but let's get honest, how much are you actually learning? Because you can, but it's like, I'm just going to go to the store to buy 1 head of broccoli, and you have to walk on a tightrope, and it's very easy to fall off the tightrope and fall face first into chocolate or junk food on either side. That's what YouTube is. It's like, I'm just going to go and watch that one video, but the algorithm knows what you like and it's feeding you all these suggestions. So be careful, right? And if you just get dopamine that's not connected to growth, then it ends up being an energetic drain. When you have dopamine associated to growth, and that could be learning, but learning usually means doing as well, not just like accumulating new ideas, but doing something with those ideas. That's an energetic plus, okay? So shame takes up way too much energy, folks. It stimulates us. Benji and I did a whole podcast episode about how you're addicted to negative emotions, right? So a lot of us use shame as like our addiction to drama, but it's not helping us being ashamed of ourselves. Let it go. Talk to somebody, pray, talk to yourself. it collapses your energy. It kills you. Shame is this dark hole where the best of you gets sucked into, right? Like an actual black hole. And you always end up feeling worse afterwards. Okay, so let's talk about what we need to use our energy for, okay? Find out when are you most energetic? We all have like a peak time of day where we're most creative, where the best ideas will flow. Figure out when that is. And take away any potential digital distractions. Figure out the mental loops, the thoughts that you want to focus on and repeat again and again because they serve you, they give you energy, rather than the thoughts that drain your energy. Safeguard yourself from toxic conversations, either in your own head with other people or that you're exposing yourself to through either hanging out with the wrong people or listening to the wrong people online. And then use all of this. So what you're doing is you're let's say you have this budget and you find out you're wasting all this energy. And then now you have all this extra energy to invest into a life filled with meaning, filled with joy, because it's intentional and you're like, I'm going to build this, and you build it and it feels great. Your life is just like, you look at it and you're like, I love my life. It's a great feeling. That will not happen if you invest in hating yourself, resenting other people, worrying about the future. This stuff only takes, it doesn't give back. Okay? So I know this was a doozy of an episode, right? But the solution is really to focus on things that have meaning and value to you, things that serve a purpose, uplifting thoughts, aligning yourself, aligning your thoughts and your energy with the things that you believe in rather than the things you don't believe in. Don't waste energy in that stuff. It'll give you all the vitality you need to conquer any problems, your shadows and beyond, to build your life into the exact thing that you want it to be so you can be proud and joyful. I hope this was helpful. I know it was a lot, but there's a lot here. Energy is kind of our gateway to a robust, amazing life. Use it well, use it wisely. Have a good day, everybody. God bless you. Hey, you're a champ.
Hey there, Benji here. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you do, then maybe you would enjoy giving back to High Noon in some way by making a donation. But also, we're looking for volunteers. Volunteers are the backbone of our ministry. We have over 150 volunteers across the globe. And if you'd like to give back to High Noon in some way, to contribute in your own unique way, then check it at highnoon.org/volunteer, and you can find a way to get involved with this.